It is impossible to overlook the extent to which civilization is built upon a renunciation of instinct. The tendency to aggression is an innate, independent, instinctual disposition in man. It constitutes the powerful obstacle to culture. Men are strong so long as they represent a strong idea. They become powerless when they oppose it. What a distressing contrast there is between the radiant intelligence of the child and the feeble mentality of the average adult. Religion is an illusion, and it derives its strength from the fact that it falls in with our instinctual desires. Just as a cautious businessman avoids investing all his capital in one concern, so wisdom would probably admonish us also not to anticipate all our happiness from one quarter alone. Children are completely egoistic. They feel their needs intensely and strive ruthlessly to satisfy them. Man has, as it were, become a kind of prosthetic god. When he puts on all his auxiliary organs, he is truly magnificent, but those organs have not grown on him and they still give him much trouble at times. Civilized society is perpetually menaced with disintegration through this primary hostility of men towards one another. A certain degree of neurosis is of inestimable value as a drive, especially to a psychologist. We have long observed that every neurosis has the result, and therefore probably the purpose, of forcing the patient out of real life, of alienating him from actuality. Like the physical, the psychical is not necessarily in reality what it appears to us to be. A belligerent state permits itself every such misdeed, every such act of violence, as would disgrace the individual. Analogies, it is true, decide nothing, but they can make one feel more at home. Analysis does not set out to make pathological reactions impossible, but to give the patient's ego freedom to decide one way or another. The liberty of the individual is no gift of civilization. It was greatest before there was any civilization. Incidentally, why was it that none of all the pious ever discovered psychoanalysis? Why did it have to wait for a completely godless Jew? Obviously one must hold oneself responsible for the evil impulses of one's dreams. In what other way can one deal with them? Unless the content of the dream rightly understood is inspired by alien spirits, it is part of my own being. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. Flowers are restful to look at. They have neither emotions nor conflicts. He that has eyes to see and ears to hear may convince himself that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips, betrayal oozes out of him at every pore. A civilization which leaves so large a number of its participants unsatisfied and drives them into revolt neither has nor deserves the prospect of a lasting existence. I have found little that is good about human beings on the whole. In my experience most of them are trash, no matter whether they publicly subscribe to this or that ethical doctrine or to none at all. That is something that you cannot say aloud, or perhaps even think. The first human who hurled an insult instead of a stone was the founder of civilization. If a man has been his mother's undisputed darling, he retains throughout life the triumphant feeling, the confidence in success, which not seldom brings actual success along with it. Dreams are often most profound when they seem the most crazy. The conscious mind may be compared to a fountain playing in the sun and falling back into the great subterranean pool of subconscious from which it rises. What progress we are making! In the Middle Ages they would have burned me. Now they are content with burning my books. The doctor should be opaque to his patients and, like a mirror, should show them nothing but what is shown to him. What we call happiness in the strictest sense comes from the, preferably sudden, satisfaction of needs which have been dammed up to a high degree. A man should not strive to eliminate his complexes but to get into accord with them. They are legitimately what directs his conduct in the world. The goal towards which the pleasure principle impels us, of becoming happy, is not attainable, yet we may not, nay, cannot, give up the efforts to come nearer to realization of it by some means or other. Whoever loves becomes humble. Those who love have, so to speak, pawned a part of their narcissism. The act of birth is the first experience of anxiety, and thus the source and prototype of the affect of anxiety. Every normal person, in fact, is only normal on the average. His ego approximates to that of the psychotic in some part or other and to a greater or lesser extent. A man who has been the indisputable favorite of his mother keeps for life the feeling of a conqueror. Illusions commend themselves to us because they save us pain and allow us to enjoy pleasure instead. We must therefore accept it without complaint when they sometimes collide with a bit of reality against which they are dashed to pieces.